Michael Pollan, This Is Your Mind on Plants. Dive into the fascinating world of plants and their impact on human consciousness in this summary of This Is Your Mind on Plants by Michael Pollan. Uncover the historical relationships between humans and opium, the widespread influence and uses of coffee and tea, and the intriguing psychoactive effects of mescaline. You'll explore the complex intersection between plants, culture, and society, and discover how these substances have played a significant role in our lives. With an engaging and insightful journey, you'll learn about the dual nature of opium, the role of caffeine in the modern world, and the sacred roots of the Peyote religion.
Opium's dual nature. Opium has been known to be both a curse and a blessing throughout history. In the 1990s, the war on drugs was fought, resulting in the incarceration of nonviolent drug offenders. The opioid crisis began in 1996 when Purdue Pharma introduced OxyContin. Ironically, the war on drugs distracted from the real drug-related issue. Opium's primary use has always been for pain control, and in the 19th century, it became prevalent. However, it also became seen as a drug with deadly consequences, primarily due to the opioid crisis. The crisis has resulted in a significant increase in opiate overdose deaths every year. The historical narrative on opium offers an understanding of this dual nature. Opium, Dispelling Misconceptions. Opium can be easily obtained from ordinary poppy plants, despite common beliefs that it requires specialized knowledge and equipment. In Jim Hogshire's book Opium for the Masses, he claims that anyone can obtain opium by brewing poppy seeds into tea. Author Michael Pollan was intrigued by Hogshire's claims and decided to grow poppy plants himself, only to realize that it is illegal. As a result, growing poppy plants can result in legal action against innocent gardeners, depending on their knowledge of how to turn the plants into opium tea. Despite the risks, Pollan tried the tea and experienced a sensation of subtracted negative feelings without diminishing his senses. The evolution and magic of caffeine. Coffee and tea, two plants referred to as Coffea and Camellia sinensis that originated from a few regions, are now globally successful. These plants don't provide energy or calories, but what they do is modify consciousness, all because of caffeine. Plants evolved caffeine to attract pollinators while at the same time avoiding the development of predator resistance to it. Caffeine, in small amounts, attracts pollinators, while in high doses, it serves to defend the plants against insects. Caffeine increases adrenaline, serotonin, and dopamine levels in humans, making it a mood-enhancing chemical. Caffeine also hinders the typical actions of adenosine, which reduces neurons' firing rate, slowing down the brain and causing sleepiness. However, caffeine blocks adenosine receptors that are responsible for binding adenosine, causing the brain to ignore the bedtime signal. The revolutionary history of coffee. According to legend, a goatherd in 9th century Ethiopia discovered the stimulant properties of coffee. While this story is likely untrue, it is clear that coffee's impact has reverberated throughout the world and changed history. The Yemeni Sufis, for example, used coffee to stay awake during religious ceremonies. By the mid-1600s, Westerners were enjoying the benefits of coffee, including the ability to foster clear thoughts during the Enlightenment, leading to the establishment of democratic public spaces in coffee houses. Furthermore, coffee was utilized as a tool to fuel the rise of capitalism, ultimately shaping the modern-day work ethic. Despite its psychoactive properties, coffee remains an essential aspect of contemporary culture. The duality of caffeine. The widespread use of caffeine in the modern world has prompted research on its effects on human health. While findings have linked caffeine consumption to reduced risks of certain health conditions, it has also been revealed that caffeine disrupts deep sleep. This type of sleep is vital for the brain to convert short-term memories to long-term ones. The result? Drinking coffee too late in the day may cause a reduction in brain activity. Although not harmful in limited quantities, caffeine can cause adverse effects such as hypervigilance and restlessness. The author's research on caffeine showed him that quitting the substance led to a substantial improvement in the quality of his sleep. However, he found that his waking hours were less engrossing and lacked intensity. Ultimately, it appears that caffeine has a dual nature, simultaneously enhancing mental performance and inhibiting deep rest. Mescaline's impact on perception. Mescaline dramatically alters perception by flooding the brain's consciousness awareness with sensory information and emotions. The author's experience highlights how the brain's predictive coding theory is challenged during a mescaline trip. The book delves into the still unknown reason why cacti produce psychedelic molecules like mescaline and how it might be a defense mechanism to predators. Although not palatable, humans tolerate mescaline because of its enticing effects and its significance in sacred rites for indigenous peoples of the Americas. Peyote and the Peyote religion. A look into the historical and recent use of peyote by indigenous peoples in the Americas, specifically focusing on the peyote religion and its rise in the late 1800s as a more sedate alternative to the ghost dance. The author explores its current shortage and participation in a ceremony using wachuma, a different type of mescaline-containing cactus. Peyote and the Peyote religion delves into the historical and recent use of peyote by indigenous peoples in the Americas. The 17th-century Mexican Inquisition denounced peyote as a diabolic root, a heretical perversity, and a substance that enables one to discover secrets. In reality, the word refers to both a cactus and the psychoactive tea derived from it, which indigenous people had been using for thousands of years for both individual healing and collective, ceremonial ritual. In the late 1800s, the ghost dance and the peyote religion were on the rise. The former was an ecstatic ritual in which participants danced and sang throughout the night, leading to trances, spasms, and speaking in tongues. Terrified local authorities chose to suppress it violently, while the latter was a far more sedate alternative. Participants would sit upright and stay silent while staring into a fire all night as ceremonial objects were passed around and drums beat steadily, all taking place inside teepees away from the eyes of white people. Due to this and other reasons, the peyote religion survived to this day, while the ghost dance did not. However, indigenous communities are currently experiencing a shortage of peyote. Thus, the author participated in a ceremony using wachuma, a different type of mescaline-containing cactus, with a medicine carrier. Along with 6 or 7 other participants, personal objects were placed on an altar before drinking 3 cups of wachuma, which had surprisingly gentle effects. Instead of visions or hallucinations, the author felt as if he were immersed in warm water, drifting along with the energies of other participants and the psychedelic experience.
Michael Pollan's This Is Your Mind on Plants provides a compelling exploration of humanity's multifaceted connections with plants that have shaped human history and altered our experiences. Engaging with the rich stories of opium, caffeine, and mescaline, this book highlights both the blessings and curses of these substances. We've seen how opium's dual nature helped us understand pain relief and addiction, how caffeine drives our modern society, and how mescaline alters our perceptions and is deeply ingrained in indigenous cultures. As you reflect on the overarching message of this book, consider the complex relationship between plants and people and the ways in which they continue to influence our lives today.